Hello and welcome to today's community conversation. Today I am going to be sharing with you some of the warnings that I hear around the internet and from experts about intermittent fasting for women over 40. And today I'm going to help you get some clarity on some of those warnings and why they may not apply to you even if you are a woman over 40. So welcome. My name is Diane. I'm the creator of the online course and community, the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman, as well as the online course and community, the Midlife Mindset Shift. And here we talk about all things intermittent fasting and for us as aging women. So if you're new, welcome. I always love having new members in our community. If you're joining us from YouTube, always take a second, if you don't mind, to hit that red subscribe button and then hit that little bell notification. That way you will be notified when we go live or we upload one of these videos as a rebroadcast. And if you're joining us on Facebook, I always ask the same. Please make sure that you have hit that like button on my Facebook page. And there's a little drop down arrow. Make sure that you are set up for all notifications. Again, that way you will be notified when we go live and you can join us for the conversation. So I want today to be an interactive conversation with us here as a collective community. And I want you to share with me in the comments section one warning that you have heard about intermittent fasting as it applies to you and how that made you feel. Did it make you feel scared about trying intermittent fasting? Did you feel intimidated by it maybe? And was it something that you felt was the thing that really has kept you from just going all in and giving this a try for you? So if you've heard a warning and it has stopped you from trying intermittent fasting, or maybe it stopped you in the beginning, but now you're practicing it because you've heard some new information, I'd love to know that as well. So this is going to be an interactive conversation. So the first warning that I want to clarify for especially women and especially women over 40 who are intermittent fasting is that this is a lifestyle that can work for you. A lot of the people that I hear talking about intermittent fasting and providing these warnings for us women generally, and I'm just saying this generally, are not women, and they're definitely not over 40. And I really think that it's not fair for us women to hear information like this that can be very misleading from someone who has no firsthand experience about what it is that we're going through with our ever-changing body, especially when it comes to hormones. So the first warning that I want to debunk or help you really get some clarity on is that intermittent fasting works for everyone. It's the approach that you take with intermittent fasting that can differ depending on your gender or maybe what age or season you're in or what your ultimate goals are. So the goals that you are wanting to achieve with intermittent fasting is really how you want to approach intermittent fasting, and then it is across the board appropriate for everyone. The second warning that I want to really help you gain some clarity on, and we teach this specifically in the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman course, and that is that calories don't really matter when you're practicing an intermittent fasting lifestyle, as long as you are fasting correctly and you listen to the signs and signals that your body is sending you. And let me explain that a little bit. When you are following a predetermined caloric intake, meaning it's a calorie suggestion that is just thrown out for everyone across the board, it can really lead you down a path that can be very misleading for your body, because your body actually knows how many calories it needs to survive. And if you're in a fasted state, and you're in a clean fasted state, your body will get really good at utilizing calories that you have in storage. That is exactly what intermittent fasting does for us. It allows our body the opportunity to use resources that are in storage. Then, when you really trust your hunger hormones and you trust the signs and signals that your body is sending you in your feasted state, you can eat intuitively. You do not have to follow any sort of calorie counting system. If you follow a calorie goal and you feast when your body is not sending you signals of hunger, you are in fact overeating. And that's where a lot of women get really frustrated when they start practicing intermittent fasting, is they're not seeing the results they were hoping for. And that's because they're consuming too many calories. If you're fasting correctly and you're feasting intuitively, you will get the right amount of calories based on what your body is telling you when you're in your feasting window. Type of plan is what we're on now. Number 3 is fasting consistently slows down your metabolism. That is a warning that is just absolutely not true. It is in fact the opposite of that, and that's because we are eating intuitively. When our body is in a fasted state and we eat intuitively, our body is so intelligent and it will actually reset your body's own metabolic burn rate. So your metabolism down. So time and consistency are going to be your best friend when you're practicing an intermittent fasting lifestyle, because your body will in fact increase your metabolic burn rate because you are going to intuitively consume calories and then allow your body to go into those tapped resources and utilize the calories that it needs to sustain a healthy body. You do not need to worry about fasting consistently. Actually, consistency is going to be your best friend. Over 40, you need to increase your that is true across the board. Protein intake is really dependent on the lifestyle every woman is choosing to live and the demands that that woman's body has. Naturally fall within my feasting window. I don't seek it out. I don't add extra protein in. When you become intuitive about your feasting and your guidelines around how you choose to feed your body are set on you looking and feeling your best and a nutrient-dense lifestyle, protein will just naturally occur and your body will take in what it needs. You do not need to supplement your body with protein. So be wary of those warnings out there for us women that you need to pack on more protein. That is just not the case. And again, if you're eating too much protein and your body cannot metabolize it or utilize it, it will be stored and you'll be frustrated with the results that you're not achieving with your intermittent fasting lifestyle. Be careful with the scientific data that you choose to follow. I say this a lot here because scientific research and scientific data may not apply to you specifically. So if you're going to use scientific data as a means to either decide to do intermittent fasting or not decide to do intermittent fasting, make sure you understand the parameters in which that scientific study took place. And does that apply to you in the life that you want to live? To test out for yourself. But in the big picture of what scientific data is, we as the everyday person don't always fall into the parameters. So the best advice I like to give for women when they become really into following scientific data is take the data and test it out for yourself. So become a participant in the scientific data. Run the test on yourself and then see what the outcome is for you. The other warning that I want to give about intermittent fasting, especially for us women over 40, is that you have to listen to your own body and really shut down a lot of the conflicting information that you're hearing around the internet. Run a test. Do something. See what your body is sending you in the ways of signs and signals on whether that test is working for you or not. I always recommend about 7 days of you testing something out. And then at the end of that 7 days, evaluate. How did this thing work for me? Did it yield me the results that I was hoping for? Or did it not? And that's really how you can start becoming very intuitive about your body and figuring out what works for you and doesn't work for you. I have a saying here that there's no such thing as bad food. There just might be food decisions that are bad for you, right? So food in general is never considered bad, but it might not be something that's currently working for you. So test it out. And the best way to test it out is to listen to your own body signs and signals and really start to tune out what other people's suggestions for how you should take care of your body is, because you are the only one that can really macros. Again, that is that thing that we have to really start to question, like, what's the purpose of managing macronutrients? And is it really the end result of us making sure that we get the perfect nutrition for our bodies? Or is it just another thing that we have to manage? And so if managing macros doesn't serve you and your personality, then please just eat intuitively. Figure out what foods fall into categories that make you happy get on with our life and not have to be able to just go about our life. Make you successful with intermittent fasting. You being happy and healthy will be the thing that is definitely making you successful with intermittent fasting. So I hope okay, I think I'm back. I think I lost you guys. Managing macros is just that extra little thing that we don't necessarily have to do. It is a really finite way of managing our food, and for most of us, or the average. Let me see if I can go through the comment section here before we get kicked off again, and answer some of your questions, or maybe help you understand what some of those warnings are that you are hearing for yourself. And then remember, our intermittent fasting for today's aging women course, where I teach you how to design your intermittent lifestyle for you so that you can look and feel your best and live your most authentic life, is the course that I offer here. It starts November 7th. Registration is currently open, so make sure you get on my email list. I really teach you how to figure out how to live this lifestyle for you, so you don't have to worry about warnings anymore. You can do it intuitively, and you can live your life very happy and in a very healthy way. Ashen, hi, does diamond push-ups work for arms, and do you know how skinny people gain weight? I don't think that's a question that's really appropriate for today's broadcast, but I do appreciate you being here. M&M Twins on Midlife Lifestyle Twins here. So glad we found your channel. Good to have you with us as well. Julie, October 2020 grad, first time saying that. I love having my graduates back here. Hopefully you're still on with us. My friend is concerned that IF will damage my thyroid. What advice can you give me to answer her? I would say, from what we have had here in our community, there have been so many women who have come into intermittent fasting who have either had hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, and have been in situations where they've been able to either reduce or eliminate their thyroid medicine. So remember, our thyroid starts to go off when our body is in a state of imbalance, and the best way to get your body working in a balanced way is to really give it an opportunity to rest and heal itself. So I would just let your friend know that you are doing things to take care of your body, and that she shouldn't be concerned about you. She should be concerned about her, and that you'll go back to her. And I would say consistently over time, just make sure you're making good decisions based on the signs and signals that your body is sending you. And over time, your body will heal itself. And if you're on any sort of thyroid medication, it would be interesting to see if your doctor notices that you might be at a place where you can reduce it and or eliminate it. Delinda, that it can mess with my hormones if I'm over 45. And yes, that is why I no longer do it. Okay, so you have to define what mess with your hormones is. And one of the things I think that my doctor did for me when I started going through perimenopause that I am just so grateful for today is I went in feeling like my hormones were off, and she said to me, well, they probably are. Do we really need to test to prove that? And I was like, no, I feel it, right? So when you're over 45, your hormones are already shifting out of balance because you're probably entering in a state of perimenopause going into menopause. So what are balanced hormones is the question that I always like to ask. Like, unless you're having your hormones tested every year, you don't know what out of balance hormones really are for you, right? Because you don't even know what your normal set point for hormones are. So the best thing that we can do to really balance out our hormones is to not interfere with them. And the best way to not interfere with your hormones is to give your body an opportunity to not have to manage any sort of chemical or hormonal reaction based on things that we're putting in our body. So intermittent fasting here in this community is actually proving to help your hormones balance out, and food interactions are the things that keep us in a state of imbalance. So I would say that that's definitely a warning that you need to not worry about, and that you should just practice intermittent fasting for yourself. Pay attention to how your body sends you signs and signals when you enter into a feasting state. I know one of the things, or several of the things that were really affecting my hormones had nothing to do with intermittent fasting, and it was actually things I was putting in, on, and around my body in my everyday lifestyle. And what intermittent fasting did for me is it heightened my awareness to those signs and signals, so I was able to eliminate the things that were interacting with my body and keeping me in a state of imbalance. And once I figured all of that out, then I was able to eliminate those things and I got myself back in balance. So intermittent fasting won't mess with your hormones. It'll probably help you balance them out. Luce at Julie, it works for me. Awesome. Let's see, Barbara, I am started last November. I lost 33 pounds, but I plateau regardless of how much I ate. Yeah, so when you plateau, what I want to say is that's just your body's opportunity to kind of just rest and have a set point. Plateaus aren't necessarily bad things. It just means that you're not in a changed environment for your body. Your body's not shifting. So what I always recommend doing is either having a really good long fast or have a really good long feast, and just kind of change the environment for your body for a day or two and see if that kind of just puts things in a state of unrest again, which will allow you to have an opportunity to continue with the change. Let's see, Stephanie, I was told that it affects women's hormones negatively if we go over 16-8. I fast up to 20 hours a day taking your class in April 2019. Yeah, so hopefully you've proven to yourself that that is just not a warning. That is a warning that is just not true. I think that just comes from the fact that people are doing research and they're not actually talking to women who are practicing intermittent fasting for more than 16 hours. I can say again, from the women here in our community, fasting that 20 hours is really giving us the opportunity to balance out our hormones. And oftentimes what's putting our body again at a state of imbalance are the things that we're putting in, on, and around our body. So it's the feasting aspect of what we're choosing to do with our body is what's putting us in a state of imbalance. And the fasting does give us the opportunity to get ourselves back in balance. So I'm super happy that you trusted at trying a different way and that you're thriving in that 20-hour fast. Maya from British Columbia, I was told IF would trigger my eating disorder. Glad I heard this after doing IF for a year. Yeah, again, it's that thing where I think a lot of the research, and again, every situation is specific to that individual, right? And their personal experiences and life stories. But we've had many women come through this community who came in with eating disorders and felt that intermittent fasting actually helped them with how they felt about food and taking care of their body. So eating disorders have been around for a very long time, and so has dieting. And I know for me, I've even had some probably some food issues emotionally and mentally triggered with the diet mindset. And what I love about intermittent fasting is it does put the control back in your hands as the individual woman. Like I said, there have been a lot of women here in this community who have felt that intermittent fasting gave them the power to make decisions for themselves and felt a lot more at ease with their past experiences with eating disorders and felt like they were definitely more settled with an intermittent fasting lifestyle. But again, it's one of those things that you have to really make sure that if you're if you have been diagnosed with an eating disorder and you're working with a therapist, to make sure that you keep your therapist or your doctor informed about the choices that you're making with your lifestyle changes, so that they can be in tune with you and all the changes that you're making, for sure. But I'm glad you're doing better. Diane, they said I must have an eating disorder. I didn't fall for that. Yeah. No, don't fall for that at all. Teresa, in the beginning, I heard that it would mess up my metabolism. My metabolism was already messed up. Intermittent fasting is the best thing I've ever done for my health. Exactly. And that's what I really like to point out when I have these types of videos, where I title them like intermittent fasting warnings for women over 40. Like, be careful of the warnings, right? Because the warnings are just creating this fear mentality, and we don't need to be fearful of just taking a break from food for a few hours a day, right? When you think about intermittent fasting and the fact that it could be anywhere from 16 to 20 hours, a majority of that time we're spent resting, right? Or we're spent sleeping. And really, eating consistently all day and being fearful of skipping a meal is not serving us well either. So there has to be a better way. And anything that you do with the mindset and the approach of doing it in a very balanced and emotionally set place will always yield you a great result. So anything we do in frantic, anything we do in desperation, anything that we do that seems extreme will throw our body out of whack. So just don't do anything in extremes, and don't do anything frantically, and everything will be okay for sure. Barbara, stopped for a while and now I have gained back 11 pounds. Help. Well, Barbara, this is what I always say. If you do something that yields you a result that's positive and that you like, and then you stop doing the thing that yielded you the result that you liked, then you have to go back to doing the thing that yielded you the result that you liked. So if you had something that you were doing consistently that helped you lose that 11 pounds, go back and do that thing again. This is why I always recommend that you keep a journal of your progress, especially when you're in our course, which is why we provide you with a journal when you're in the course. And I want you to document, what are you doing? When did you start noticing changes? How did you feel when those changes started happening? So that when you go off track, you have a reference point, and you can say, oh, I did this on day 1, I did this on day 2, I did this on day 3. Let me just get to day 3, and I know I'm going to start feeling better again. So Barbara, if you are a graduate of our course, that's why I give you access to the course for a year. Go back through your course lessons. If you haven't been a member of our course, I would highly recommend that you get on our email list or join our course for November. I can get you back on track really quickly, and I'll have you create a food journal and an experience journal, so you'll have something to reference if you ever go back off again. Dinah, clean fasting is great for older women. It is excellent for older women. It's actually excellent for all women, but I think older women especially, we notice, I think, some of the biggest benefits and biggest results, probably because we feel so bad when we go into starting something new. So yeah, it is absolutely amazing. Danny, hello, girlfriend. Michael says hello back to you. Thanks for always thinking of him. I have had to get better at what goes in my feasting window after a long fast. Yeah, you know what it is? It just, Danny, look at it as a trial and error. And I always look at it as an information opportunity, right? So if you break your fast with something, or you do something in your feasting window and you don't like the way you look and feel after that, just consider that information. And you take that experience and you ask yourself, do I want to look and feel that way again? Or would I prefer to look and feel a different way? And then you just have to make choices, right? And if you find that you're doing this over and over and over again, and you're feeling regret or you're feeling bad about it, then we have to look deeper to why it is you're doing something that's not allowing you to look and feel your best. Or you go back to the thing that you know will serve you, and then you do that more often. So it's just an opportunity to gain some information and have an opportunity to make a new choice, for sure. Lisa, you should not skip breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day. That was a definite warning we heard, and that is something that I used to preach to women all the time. And so what we do is now we just shift breakfast, which is the most important meal of the day, to a later time in the day, right? So breakfast to me is just a food category that somehow we've bunched together, and we decided we're supposed to have it at a certain time of the day. So we, as a matter of fact, had breakfast the other night for dinner, and we had all the breakfast fixings. We just did it at dinner time during our break fast time. So just split that compound word up into a break fast, and then you will be fine, and you can have your breakfast any time of the day that serves you. Eloise, August 2020 grad, sister-in-law said IF cannot be done if you're diabetic. I told her that it isn't true, but she said she gets sick when she tried it. Yeah, she got sick when she tried intermittent fasting because she's a diabetic, right? And I always ask in those types of situations, so you can ask this of your sister-in-law, is how has what you've been doing worked for you, right? So when I was diabetic, or very close to being a full-blown diabetic, I was eating 6 times a day. It did not feel good for me in the beginning to go into intermittent fasting because my body was not happy with the fact that I was denying what it was addicted to. Once I broke the food addiction, I thrived in a fasted state, but people don't like to feel uncomfortable, right? And so we would rather settle with being sick and comfortable than uncomfortable and putting ourselves in a healing state. So a lot of people just can't make that mindset connection. And so there's not a whole lot you can do for someone who just doesn't want to be convinced that there's a better way. But the question I always like to ask is, how has what you've been doing working for you? And if you're a diabetic, it clearly is not working for you. So you should be researching a different way. Vivian, I think it is, if you have in the past binge, that is emotional eating. It is not good for you. Yeah, binging is definitely considered emotional eating, and a lot of people have, women especially, I think, because we're emotional creatures, have had those instances of binging. I can definitely say I felt like I've binged before, but it is that thing that once you make that connection, you have to stop yourself in your tracks and then decide why it is that you're doing that. What emotional thing has caused you to binge? Intermittent fasting isn't going to cause you to binge eat. Binge eating is something that you're emotionally connected to. So figure out what that emotional connection to, and then you won't binge when you're intermittent fasting for sure. But intermittent fasting doesn't cause binging. So that is definitely a warning. That is not true. Dominique, October 2020 grad. Yes, you are, girlfriend. Welcome to the grad club. I love saying that. I love hearing that from you. Be careful of the warnings. That's such a great takeaway. I'm thriving with 20-hour fast, and that means more to me than any warning. Yes, for sure. Test a warning. Who's saying the warning? What does that person look like? Do they look like you? Are they in the same season as you? Have you considered why it is they're saying those things? And then test it out, right? There is nothing unsafe about intermittent fasting if you do it in a safe way. If you do it with a healthy mindset, it's the best thing that you can do. You're just giving yourself a break from food, for sure. So Dominique, I love having you here as a grad. Jeanette, I have been intermittent fasting for the last 2 years. I usually fast for about 14 to 16 hours every day. While I was on keto and intermittent fasting, I lost around 13 kilograms over a year, but lots of centimeters. I'm no longer on keto, but limit my carb and aim for only healthy carbs. I want to lose weight, but finding the scales haven't moved for the last year. Should I give my body a break from the IF? I turned 50 in August and am perimenopausal. Not sure what I'm doing incorrectly. It could be the way you're fasting, Jeanette. So here in this community, I teach intermittent fasting a very specific way for women who are going through perimenopausal changes. So it's probably more the perimenopause that you're going through and not the fasting. So if you're going to give up intermittent fasting to create a positive change, then you have to be really, really considerate of what you're doing in your feasting window, because we know feasting, if you don't get it right, is going to be the problem. So I would say really focus on making sure that you're clean fasting, you're fasting for a long enough time, and you're understanding what's happening in your body's chemistry when you're entering into a feasting window. When you understand the chemistry responses and the chemical changes that take place when you're feasting, it's easier to understand why fasting will work for you. So it's probably a little tweak you need to make in your fasting window, and it's not giving it up. It's probably just leaning into it a little bit more seriously. Eloise, thank you so much for that great feedback and all the info given today. Yeah, girlfriend, you are super welcome. I'm sorry we had a little bit of internet interruption here. It's crazy here today weather-wise, so our internet's been a little wonky. Bridget, girlfriend, it's so good to have you here. Thriving in 20-hour fasting. Give yourself a chance, October 2020 grad. Yeah, for sure. You guys, intermittent fasting should not come with a warning label. You really have to go into it with a healthy mindset. It is not a quick fix. It is not a desperation diet. It is not anything that has to be all consuming of your life. It is actually all the opposite of those things. And it should be something that you should be able to settle into very easily once you understand how your body chemistry is working and what intermittent fasting can do for you and how you can thrive in a fasted state. And that's really the goal that we have here in this community. So if you're scared to try intermittent fasting, I always say consider where you're getting your information from. Think about how it applies to you. Think about and ask yourself the question, how has what I have been doing working for me? And if it's not in a resounding, it has been great for me, then you really should consider trying something new or an approach to what you're doing in a new way with a clear mindset about how it could possibly work for you, because it is working for so many people. No counting calories, no managing macros, no having to worry about a slow metabolism, no having to up your protein consumption. None of those things apply. Just fast long and feast well, and then tune into the signs and signals that your body is sending you. If you're frustrated or you want an opportunity to learn how to intermittent fasting for you as a woman who is going through the aging process and might be frustrated, remember, we do have our intermittent fasting for today's aging woman course starting on November 7th. You can get on my email list. I will email out information all week to get us registered. Registration closes on the 6th. I would love to have an opportunity to debunk all the warnings that you have heard and give you a really honest and a very faithful approach to intermittent fasting so that you can have the opportunity to look and feel your best and live your most authentic life. We're thriving here in this community, and I would love to add you as a grad as well. Our graduate group is growing every month, and I love the fact that we are all here serving one another. Narita, I think your knowledge is always a comfort to affirm my wisdom. Oh, to confirm my self-wisdom. Yeah, for sure, girlfriend. You should have self-wisdom. You really should be the only one that is determining how to take care of you. And sometimes we just need a little bit of push and a little bit of guidance and a little bit of arms wrapped around us telling us it's going to be okay. And I hope that I provide that for you guys for sure. Marcina, please send me info on the class. I just put the links right there in the comment section. I'll post them again for you. You can go ahead and get on my email list, or just go to fortoday'sagingwoman.com. There's a place to sign up there as well. Information will be going out this weekend and every day next week. So if you're interested in joining the course, the sooner you get registered, the sooner you get off me emailing you every day about jumping in with our November course. And remember, November 7th is the last class we will have for 2020. I said 2017. That was the first year we had classes. 2020. November 7th is the last class we will have. We will not hold the class in December. We won't have a class again until January. So get in with us. I promise you it will give you the confidence and the comfort you need to also get through this holiday season. It will help you thrive with a lot of these holiday stresses that we have, and a lot of the emotional unrest that a lot of us will probably be having to deal with just because of the fact that everything's going to be so different this year. And then you'll be able to come back and hang out with us at the end of November and in December as a grad, which is a very, very proud community of women that we have gathered here. So we would love to have you for sure. Okay, with that being said, again, I apologize. The internet was a little wonky today. Hopefully you got everything that you needed from today's broadcast. I will see you guys back here on Monday. I think I'll be back here on Monday. It's a holiday for my daughter. So if you get a post from me letting you know that we'll be live, then I will be here for sure. Otherwise, I'll see you around Instagram or on my email list. So make sure you get on the email list. I'll be notifying you guys this weekend. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me.